There's one breakfast habit that, for a lot of people, quietly makes the whole morning harder. More hunger by mid-morning, less steady energy through the day. In just a moment, I'll tell you exactly what that habit is. But that's only half of today's story, because once we clear that off your plate, I'm going to walk you through 5 foods that research suggests can work in your favorite breakfast. Instead, foods that may help support a steadier metabolism, rather than fighting against it. By the end of this video, you'll know both what to skip and what to reach for. Let's get right into it. Here's the one thing worth avoiding. Starting your day with heavily refined, sugary foods eaten on their own. Think sugary cereals, pastries, or sweetened breakfast breads with nothing else alongside them. The concern isn't that these foods are forbidden or dramatic in some way. It's that foods high in refined sugar and low in fiber or protein tend to be digested quickly, which some research links to a faster rise and fall in blood sugar, and for many people, that means hunger returning sooner than expected. If you take medication for blood sugar or diabetes, this is exactly the kind of pattern worth discussing with your doctor, since individual responses can vary quite a bit from person to person. The point isn't guilt. Plenty of people grew up with cereal and toast as the default breakfast. It's simply worth knowing the pattern so you can decide for yourself what to do with it. Now, why does this matter in the first place? For most of the night, your body has been resting, not eating, and not moving much. So what you eat when you break, that fast can set the tone for your energy and hunger over the next several hours. It's not about one magic food or one forbidden food. It's about composition and timing working together. Some breakfasts tend to spike hunger again within an hour or two. Others tend to keep you steady well into late morning. That difference is exactly what we're unpacking today. In plain, practical terms, no scare tactics, just an honest look at what tends to help and what tends to work against you. So now that we've named the mistake, the natural question is, what should you reach for instead? Let's count down 5 foods, commonly discussed in connection with metabolism and satiety at breakfast. And I'll explain why each one works a little differently than the last. Number 5 is Greek yogurt, plain unsweetened. Greek yogurt tends to run higher in protein than many other breakfast staples, and protein is widely considered more satisfying, meal for meal, than sugar or refined carbohydrates alone. That extra staying power can make a real difference by the time lunch rolls around. Then there's berries, strawberries, blueberries, raspberries, whatever you enjoy. Compared to many other sweet options, berries bring natural sweetness paired with fiber, and that fiber is a big part of why whole fruit tends to sit with you differently than fruit, juice, or sugary alternatives without the same rapid rise and crash pattern. Number 3 is eggs. Their reputation has swung back and forth over the decades, but current guidance from many dietitians treats them as a solid source of protein and other nutrients for most people. As always, if you manage a heart condition or take cholesterol-related medication, that's a conversation for your own doctor rather than a blanket rule. Coming in at number 2 is oats, specifically the less processed kind, like steel-cut or old-fashioned oats, rather than heavily sweetened instant packets. Oats contain a type of fiber often associated with slower, steadier digestion, which many people experience as longer-lasting fullness compared to lighter, more processed grain options. And number 1 is a modest amount of healthy fat, something like avocado, or a small handful of nuts. Here's what makes this one worth pausing on. Many of us were raised on the idea that fat is something to avoid at breakfast entirely, full stop. But the research on this has shifted meaningfully over the past couple of decades, and a fair amount of it now points to modest amounts of unsaturated fat actually supporting satiety rather than undermining it. If you've spent years steering away from anything with fat in it at breakfast, this is the one item on today's list most worth reconsidering. So what does all this mean for your next breakfast? It doesn't mean memorizing rules or building a rigid checklist. A simple way to think about it: aim for breakfasts that combine some protein and some fiber, rather than relying on refined sugar to do all the work of making the meal enjoyable. That one shift, some protein and fiber over sugar alone, covers most of what we talked about today. There's one more piece we haven't touched on, though: the role of timing and how long you wait after waking to eat. That's nuanced enough to deserve its own conversation. For today, here's what I hope you take with you. Breakfast isn't about restriction, and it's not about fear, it's about understanding. So you can make small, steady choices that work in your favor. None of this replaces guidance from your own doctor, especially if you're managing a condition like diabetes or heart disease. Please treat this as general education, not personal medical advice. If today helped you see your morning plate a little differently, I'd love to explore that timing question with you next.